Hi, Ignoble Gnome here, and I wanted to show latest update for Grabby. I've added a short-range IR detector that'll be used so that he can tell when there's something in front of his gripper, and then he can grab it. So let's look over here. What you're seeing here is his grabber, and that's his little claw right there. And this is the IR detector here. Oh, you can see it's a little twitchy for some reason at this point. There we go. Come on. There's some sort of a wire loose signal problem in my breadboard. It wasn't doing this a moment ago. Of course it wasn't, Andrew. Alright. Well, ignore the twitching for a moment. He's got a case of the twitches. You turn them off. So, IR detector here. It's I got this had this little LED dual LED case, and I shaved down the lip of the LEDs of an IR detector emitter pair and got them in this little case. And it already had like a nice little 45-degree thing here, so I just hot glued it there. And then the idea is that when something's right in front of his gripper, he'll be able to grab it. See? And there's his gripper, and some people ask me about his gripper. So let me just quickly show you what his gripper looks like. It's a couple of gears, and this one over here, these are parts off a printer cartridge, and they're like a throwaway part off a Canon printer cartridge, and I just thought they'd look really cool in a robot. Plus they're orange like the Tamiya tracks and stuff, track parts, so how cool is that? But a couple of little gears, 1:1 gear ratio. This one's mounted right on where the server horn would be, and this one is mounted, I don't know how well you can see it. Let's see if I can get this in focus here. Probably not, but something to point with. See, I'm well prepared for this video. Okay, right in here, whether you can see it or not, there's the head of a screw. And that goes through a hole in this metal bracket, which is just a piece of sheet metal I banged together there. And just kind of banged it around here, bent it up so that it would fit over the edges, and one edge, a little bit of edge clips over there, a little bit of edge clips there, slid it on, positioned it, and hot glued it in place. Before I did all that, I assembled this stuff. So this is super glued to the gear is super glued to the little printer cartridge part. Screw is inserted through, and then there's just like a little retaining nut here, so it doesn't hold it on with a lot of pressure. Whereas this one, can't even see, can you? This one is a screw that goes right through and goes right into the server horn mount. So that's how that guy works, and you can see he works, you know, not too bad. Pretty smooth. You can see the gear. You might be able to see the gears aren't perfect. You know, if they grab something too hard, they'll probably slip. So I'll have to revisit this at some point. While I'm at it, you can see the very first thing I've ever made out of polymorph is this gear. Not gear, sorry. This mount here for the sonar, and I just got the idea. His head used to be on a kind of a pan tilt thing that stuck up like this high, and now it's up front. So I'm hoping that he'll be able to use this. You know, he can kind of keep this mostly level, and he can navigate around and look around like in the sort of standard start here robot way. And I'm also hoping that he'll be able to find stuff, and he can lower his head if he's kind of snooping on the ground. We'll see how that works out. You know, I don't know if it'll get too much stuff off the ground. Anyway, we'll see. I have to play with that. But first step first is, now that I got it physically in place, I wanted to make a circuit to detect stuff at very short range and close it if it saw something. So it's not integrated onto his board yet, his auxiliary board yet, but over here, actually, this is a mess. So ignore everything from like here over, and ignore everything from like here over. Just this little bit over here is all that we care about. It's just a couple of little transistors. I just used PN22As, standard kind of everyday little guys, and so a few resistors and everything. And basically, what one is a driver for the IR emitter, and the other is a driver for the IR detector. And based on some advice from Oddbot, you can see that the detector is forward of the emitter. The blue one's the emitter, so that you don't get any kind of the lens kind of focuses stuff this way, so you don't get any false triggering from them being right next to each other. And you also, according to Oddbot, had to have them like nicely parallel, which is why the case seemed like a good idea. Boy, that's really out of focus. There you go. The case seemed like a really good idea. Anyway, back to the circuit. So those wires are going back to our circuit where you can run, turn on our emitter and detector, and then the drivers, we got it wired back to some pins on Grabby, and one is a digital pin, and that just turns on the emitter, and the other one is an analog pin over here, and that samples, it does an read ADC 10 command on the pickaxe language, so it does a 10-bit ADC and reads in that, and it every at intervals it samples ambient light, and so it works pretty well. I haven't tried it in sunlight yet, but it works pretty well in a bright room. Like you can see, it's pretty bright in here, and it was working fine. So we turn them on. We might have a little bit of a jitter, but if I wiggle the wire just right, it'll fix it. This is this little startup sequence. Okay, now he's getting that jitter. Let me see if I can. Yeah, see, I don't know why, but when I hold that wire, it doesn't do it. Now watch this. Got me. So let's see how it does with different objects. Big stuff, little stuff. Seems like it works pretty good. Just random stuff here. So it works pretty well, surprisingly well. I did find like I had there goes again. I did have like I'm gonna turn them off. I did have I tried having them kind of like nose down like a hound dog sniffing for a scent, and then you could just grab something that's nice and low on the ground like that. But the problem with that was that the detector is now firing right at the ground, and it was firing all the time, so it was just keeping its claws closed when I did that. So I just picked it up to a forward position, about like there, and then it worked great. So I got to do some other things. I want to add some pressure sensors over here on the jaws, so that right now it just closes to a certain position and it opens full wide. I think what I want to do is I want to have it grab until it feels a certain pressure and then stop. And then I also have to integrate this whole routine into the main program, so that it will so that it can drive around and navigate while it's grabbing. And what else? Lots of stuff. So hopefully lots more good stuff coming for Grabby. And this is Ignoble Gnome. Thanks.